Welcome back. So just the 4 games tonight, and I'll get into the debate about this. And I did use the North Stars logo. Hopefully that's okay with people. But yeah, so 4 games tonight. I'm doing the power rankings and I have to do the preview. But with only the 4 games, it really shouldn't be too bad tonight, comparatively speaking, with the normal Saturday night. Normal Saturday night's usually quite crazy busy. All right, first off, Ottawa and Toronto. So this was played. You know what's funny? So this was played in an empty arena. Last I'd heard they were allowed to have 1,000 people, but I guess that changed. Anyways, played in an empty arena. It's Murray versus Campbell. Nick Ritchie a healthy scratch. Here's the thing. Toronto did really well in empty arenas last season. Maybe this is their jam, right? Maybe this is how things work for Toronto. No pressure. But either way, early test for Murray. The Leafs get a power play. Mikheyev has a chance that's saved. That's killed off. 2 shots. It's a sloppy start for both teams. They've both had a couple of weeks off. It makes sense that we get some sloppy hockey. We've seen that really across the league since the return, and it makes sense, right? So the Leafs go back to the power play. That's a no as well. The Sens press at 7.5 minutes, but they don't have a shot yet. So there's no shots for the Ottawa Senators. Biega has a blast go wide. The Leafs press. Spets is denied. And at the halfway mark of the period, the shots are 8-0 for Toronto. So Murray's the only reason this isn't 2 or 3-0 at this point for Toronto. Spezza, after being denied, the Tavares line is pressuring. The Sens get a power play. Riley wasn't happy with the penalty. I think he was pretty happy with what happened after, though. Shorthanded goal. It's Hall with his first goal in 47 games. About time. Kampf and Brody with the assists at 14:05. And then Mikheyev, during the same power play, scores to make it 2-0 from Kerfoot and Brody at 14:32. So in 27 seconds, that's 2 shorthanded goals against the Ottawa Senators. Leafs then were looking for another shorthanded goal after that. So that was a crazy, really bad power play and really great penalty kill. Leafs finished off the kill, and of course the Sens, no shots during that power play. The Leafs had a few. Shabbat then with a net drive. Campbell saves, but it's 2-0 Toronto after 1. Second period. Early on, the Leafs draw another power play. So they pressure, they get another power play, so they add an early power play in the first, early power play in the second. And even if the power play isn't working very well, don't keep giving him those chances if you're Ottawa, right? Marner to Tavares wouldn't go. The Sens kill it off. No shots. The Leafs then press. Formenton with the rush. Campbell makes the saves. Leafs get their 4th power play already. We're not even to the halfway mark of the game at this point. There's a shorthanded 2-on-1. Tierney fires wide. Tavares and Matthews were then denied. Shabbat has a chance to deflect high, but then Brody scores from Riley and Kerfoot at 7:18. So it's 3-0 Toronto. And again, I thought Murray was playing well. I know the numbers don't show that, but I thought he played well today. Leafs then look for another. Brody denies a Formenton goal. Might have been one of the best saves of the game there. Leafs get their 5th power play, and then we end up with a 4-on-4. Everything gets killed off there. We go to the 3rd period. Tierney has a tip that's saved early. Bunting has a chance that's denied. Mikheyev has a chance that goes through the crease. Campbell wasn't busy, but when he got the shots, he was effective. There wasn't a lot of rebounds. There wasn't a lot of moments where it looked like he was bobbling the puck at all. Very, very smart, very good in his movements. And then Matthews with a rush, he fires it wide. Matthews seemed to be a little bit off tonight, but again, these guys have been off for a couple weeks, right? Campbell then robs Formenton, and Nylander would score to make it 4-0 from Dermott and Kerfoot at 13:41. The Leafs then get a power play shortly thereafter, and they score on it. It's Mikheyev from Kasha and Spezza at 14:42. The interesting thing with this was they show Sheldon Keefe after the goal, and he had a big grin on his face because he had the second unit out there instead of the first unit to start the power play, and they score. So the big star players struggling, the grunts, if you will, the second unit goes out there and gets that goal to make it 5-0. And then just to add more insult to injury, Nylander scores from Tavares and Sandin at 17:44. So that makes it 6-0. With 1:37 left, the Sens get their 3rd power play, and nothing there. The Ottawa Senators, who, yes, were shorthanded, they were missing a lot of players, why Murray's starting this game. They end up 9-18-2 with this loss. Toronto goes to 21-8-2. So again, long time off. I know with the power rankings, there's a lot of teams that have been off for a while. It's kind of a nightmare, but I'm like, you know what? It's going to be this way for a while. I'll just go with it. Shots, 11-4 Toronto in the first, 15-9 Toronto in the second, 13-10 Toronto in the third. Final shots, 39-23 for Toronto. Power plays 0-3 for Ottawa, 1-6 for Toronto. The hits, 21-14 for Ottawa. Matt Murray saves 34 out of 40. Campbell saves all 23 shots for his 4th shutout this season and the 8th of his career. So Jack Campbell continues to be quite the story. All right, next up. So people were upset today. People were upset that the Winter Classic wasn't a game all by itself. So there's a few things at play here. One, it's a Saturday, so you have the Hockey Night in Canada crowd. It is that once every 7 years where July 1st will fall on a Saturday. So it's not as easy to just have a Saturday, which is a night where traditionally in hockey you sell out more often, you get more seats. And not only that, I know as a Canuck fan, the Saturday games are much more expensive. The NHL makes a lot of money on weekend games. So moving all the games out of Saturday to give this the undivided attention might make some sense logistically, but financially, while this game is a huge boost for the NHL, the gates at other games, and obviously this one is a side because of unforeseen circumstances. Toronto asked for this game tonight because they have to start playing. Otherwise, the NHL was fine with postponing this due to there not being fans in attendance. But gate receipts, at least, and again, I'm speaking as a Canuck fan, are higher on weekends. So I totally understand why this game wasn't by itself. And it's not... Now, people point out, well, Alan Walsh was complaining. He's not the only one. There were other people that complained as well that the Winter Classic should have been all by itself. I'd also play devil's advocate and say St. Louis and Minnesota isn't a game that's going to generate as much interest as some of the other original 6 matchups you could have on a Winter Classic. I like these two teams as a Winter Classic. I'm so glad Minnesota's the home team here. I thought it was a great setup. It looked absolutely fantastic. But I get why we had 9 games today. And in defense of the NHL, when this game was on, the Ottawa-Toronto game was the only other game that was on. And I don't know if people who are Toronto fans would necessarily be watching the Winter Classic if the Toronto game wasn't on. Some might not. So, it's Binnington versus Talbot. And at game time, it was minus 21 degrees Celsius, minus 8 Fahrenheit. It is rare to see minuses for both. The temperature dropped a couple of degrees Fahrenheit during the game, so I'm going to guess it was minus 22 Celsius by the end of this. Ryan O'Reilly's beard froze over during the game. Just, man. So early steal by Saad. Wild defend that. The shots are 5-0 for the Blues at 5 minutes. St. Louis was just on it right out of the gate. Talbot was sharp. The Wild were flat. O'Reilly with the steal. He fires wide. Fiala gets the first shot for the Wild. That's 7 minutes into the period. Wild get it going in the second half. They end up with a power play. Kaprizov tries to bank one in off of Binnington. Close, but it's cleared out. Smart play by Kaprizov trying to bank it in. That's killed off, and the Wild press after. Perron would end up getting the goal, though, to open the scoring for St. Louis from O'Reilly and Scandella at 14:29, and it deflected in. So, with the puck being as frozen as it was in this game, it bounced a lot, and sometimes there were some weird deflections going on, too. And then 25 seconds later, 14:54, Kaprizov answers from Hartman, and that one went off of Mikola's skate and in, so it's 1-1, right? So this looked like it could be a crazy one, and it does kind of end up that way. The Wild get a power play after. It becomes a 4-on-4 pretty quickly after that. The last minute, Logan Brown had a rush, fires high, so we go to the second period with it 1-1. Early in the second period, 27 seconds in, Jordan Kyrou scores. That one goes in off Hartman's stick and into the net, so it's another deflection. The Wild try to answer. Sturm with shot blocks. The Blues were just sharper, and it's weird because at that point the shots kind of favored Minnesota, but I thought still St. Louis was better. Like, the shots are 5-3 for the Wild at 6 minutes. But I was more impressed with St. Louis than I was with Minnesota to that point. Blues then press at 7.5 minutes, and eventually it goes in. It's Tarasenko from Kyrou and Thomas at 8:55. Tarasenko has a 5-game goal streak going. So he gets all those points and all those assists. Now he started scoring goals again. So things get scrappy on the next shift. The Wild end up coming out of that with a power play. Pretty aggressive penalty kill, though, by St. Louis. Minnesota can't set up, and it's all killed off. The Blues then get a power play, and they score on it. It's Barbashev from Kyrou and Buchnevich at 14:46. And that's a nice goal on a rebound. Kyrou basically hit it knowing that it was going to go off of Talbot's pad and right to Barbashev. So this is where you got the feeling this game could really get out of control. And at 17:58, Kyrou scores from Thomas to make it 5-1. Rem Pitlick then banks one in off Binnington's mask and into the net. So he kind of does what Kaprizov was trying to do in the first. Bank one in off the goalie, right? So it's Pitlick from Rask and Bugstad at 18:38. So it's only 40 seconds after the goal by St. Louis. But about 40 seconds later, St. Louis scores again. It's Krug from Barbashev at 19:19. So it makes it 6-2 for St. Louis after 2 periods. And watching this, I thought, okay, so here's the other storyline. If the Winter Classic's a blowout, what's that going to do for the ratings? So I'll be interested to see what the ratings actually look like for this game. The production was very well done. There was a lot of debate, too, on Twitter about the fact that they announced the women's Olympic hockey team during the intermission of the second period, and the announcers talked over the introduction of all the players that are going to represent the U.S. So, still some work to be done there and how to present things. But anyways, we go to the third period. Kakinen's in net now with his fantastic pads for the game. Blues shot blocking early. They end up getting a power play. The Wild killed it off. Panger, the blonde wig. I don't know how much of a fan I am of the blonde wig he was wearing there for a bit. I got the feeling that Panger was either maybe a little bit loopy from the cold or just, bored maybe, because the score was 6-2 at that point, but Panger's fantastic. And then Hartman scores from Dumba and Zuccarello at 8 minutes and 40 seconds. So that makes it 6-3. Kaprizov is denied. The Wild end up with a power play. They go 6-on-4 during that power play with about 8 minutes left, but it's killed off. And then PHI-LA, while they're 6-on-5, scores from Kaprizov and Goligoski at 14:22. So Kaprizov getting himself on the scoreboard twice tonight, right? Yep, twice. And that's as close as Minnesota gets. Your final score is 6-4 for St. Louis. They go to 19-9-5 with the win. Minnesota drops to 19-10-2. So it's not just the temperature that fell in Minnesota, it was the Wild as well. The shots in this one favored St. Louis in the first and second period, 14-6 in the first, 14-9 in the second. And then in the third, it's all Minnesota, 18-4 were the shots there. Final shots, 33-32 in favor of Minnesota. Power plays, St. Louis 1 for 3, Minnesota 0 for 4. The hits were 17-13 for Minnesota. Binnington saves 29 out of 33. Talbot saves 22 out of 28 before he's pulled. Kakinen goes in and saves all 4 shots he faced. Relatively easy 20 minutes for him. So yeah, the game is done. We also have the Heritage Classic to look forward to this year, and we have the Stadium game as well. So the NHL has 3 outdoor games this year, still scheduled. This one goes off basically without a hitch. Really, really fun. I like the fireworks, everything they did with this. And so we'll look forward to next year's Winter Classic and see what all the fuss is about for that one. But Minnesota did a good job. I would think they'll be in line for another one. I'd like to see a Colorado-Minnesota one myself, but we'll see what they do. Or Detroit. All right, Vancouver in against Seattle. So Bruce Boudreau, right? It's the effect of Bruce Boudreau. And I remember after the Canucks won that first game, and I was doing the video in the van and uploaded it, the review of that game, and there were comments like, oh, plan the parade. Oh, it's just one game. Oh, it's no big deal. Because I noticed right away the team's play was completely different, right? And I knew how crazy it sounded, but through 9 games, the Canucks are playing completely different. So it's Demko versus Grubauer. It's 11 forwards and 7 defensemen because Dickinson ends up on the protocol list, tested positive, and so that kind of throws things into sort of a state of But anyways, McCormick can't bury a chance early, and the motions were up early as well. Blocker save then on Eberle, and then Soucy drills Garland. Now, John Garrett thought it was a bit of a late or high hit. I thought it was clean. I think the issue with it is Garland's a lot shorter than other players, so it's easier to hit a guy high when he's shorter. Take it from a guy who's shorter. It's easy to end up getting hit and knocked down, and for it to look a lot worse than it might be when somebody's a lot taller than you are. So Pearson immediately drops the gloves and goes after Soucy. So here's the thing. There's no penalty for Soucy on the play, but Pearson absolutely could have gotten the instigator, probably should have got the instigator, but in the end, it's just 5 for fighting for both, and so they're out of the game for a bit. Canucks with a 3-on-2. Podkolzin has a shot that saved. Podkolzin's been getting a lot more ice time under Bruce. Back and forth chances. Pretty good start to the game. Miller was then denied in close, but Podkolzin takes a pass from Borgen. So Borgen passes it up the middle. Podkolzin says thanks. Puts it in the net at 8:53. So that's a whoops right there, right? Pettersson then had a chance that was caught. Sheahan was denied. Sloppy defense, I thought, at this point of the game by both teams. I thought both teams were turning the puck over a little bit too much. This is where that rust from everything kind of comes into it, right? Horvat then draws a McCann penalty. I'm always interested to see how McCann does against Vancouver because you know he really likes beating Vancouver. Höglander scores on that power play from Hunt and Ekman-Larsson at 14:49. So Oliver Ekman-Larsson gets himself a point. Now he's up to 6 on the season. We'll see if he starts to heat up offensively, right? So the Canucks press with 3 minutes left. Hughes takes a penalty. Late power play for Seattle. It rolls over. 17 seconds of the second period to start it anyways. Seattle's on the power play. That's killed off by the Canucks. Donskoy then had a rush chance that's denied. I feel bad for Jonas Donskoy. I really do. He's just not allowed to get goals this year. Höglander has a chance that's saved. The Canucks seemed to step faster through most of that first half, but Järnkrok would get Seattle on the board from Soucy and Gord at 9:10, and it was a screenshot. There was no chance for Demko on that one. You've got to watch Seattle because they really are big on momentum swings, and so I don't count them out because those momentum swings can be huge. Their record is terrible, but they are pretty good at the momentum swings overall. They may not win, but they're good at that. Seattle then looks for the tie. Kraken nearly tied it. Järnkrok again, very close. He has 4 goals in his last 10 games. He had none before that as a member of the Seattle Kraken. Highmore with a break. He's taken down on that. I've noticed with Matthew Highmore the last few games, he's kind of got a bit of a potty mouth, and it's kind of hilarious at the same time. Like, he is very hard on his sleeve about things, and there was a time in my youth where I played any kind of sport. I would swear if something happened that I didn't like, it'd probably be pretty loud cursing, and everybody would hear it. So Highmore, I identify. I do. I identify with that. There was no penalty on the play. There really shouldn't have been, but I understood Highmore's frustration on it. OEL was off the Canucks bench at this point. It's a scare, but he ends up coming back into the game. Last minute press then by Seattle, but they had to feel good coming out of the second period, only down 1, right? Third period. Early jump was actually for Seattle. However, the Canucks get a power play. Pettersson with a tip that goes wide. It's killed off. Pearson has a shot that's saved after. And then Mott scores from Highmore at 4:46 to put the Canucks up 3-1. So that looks like it's probably enough. That's your insurance marker, right? Well, not so fast. The Canucks did press for another. OEL back on the ice now for Vancouver. Pearson has a break. That's saved. Donskoy has chances that are saved. The Canucks end up icing the puck. And at 10:43, Borgen, with his first NHL goal from Wenberg, makes it 3-2. So he makes up for his gaffe in the first period passing the puck to Podkolzin. But it doesn't stay close for long. Garland scores from Hughes and Pearson at 11:29. Garland was really fired up tonight. He really wanted this. So he was pretty happy when that goal made it 4-2. 5:36 left. Seattle gets a power play. Still down by 2 goals, so they need more. Crossbar for Eberle. Geekie was robbed by Demko. Goaltender gets pulled with 3 minutes left, and what that does is it allows Pearson to do something that I did not hear the announcers talk about. I didn't hear Shorthouse or Garrett talk about it. At 17:43, Pearson gets the empty netter. He has a goal, he has an assist, and I double-checked to make sure it was credited as a fight, because I was like, I'm pretty sure it's 5 for fighting, but I'll double-check. He had a fight, he had an assist, he had a goal. That's a Gordie Howe hat trick for Tanner Pearson. Not bad. Pearson... At certain points this season, I've been very unhappy with some of his play. The last, I'll say 4 or 5 games, he's been fantastic. So, Vancouver wins this one 5-2. They're now 8-0-1 under Bruce Boudreau. They go to 16-15-3 with the win. They're above 500. That sounds weird because they haven't been above 500 for a very long time. Seattle 10-19-4. So the shots in this one, 14-6 Vancouver in the first, 9-8 Seattle in the second, and a sloppy third. The shots were 17-14 Seattle. So Really good game by Demko. Make sure that victory happens. Final shots are 36-32 for Vancouver. Power plays, Vancouver 1 for 2, Seattle 0 for 2. Hits 20-12 for Vancouver. Demko saves 30 out of 32, and Grubauer 31 saves on 35 shots. And the best way to put it, the two Johns said this in the Vancouver broadcast. Grubauer wasn't bad tonight, but he wasn't great. And this is where the Seattle goaltending is at. It's not awful, but it's not great. It's not stealing games. They're not making these huge, fantastical, highlight reel saves, and it is really costing them points. So for Seattle, a rough one because this is a division rival, and for Vancouver, this result puts them above 500. They've played more games than teams they're chasing, that's true, and that makes things a lot tougher. But 8-0-1 is just I would never have imagined that for Vancouver. So yeah. A lot of fun on that one. All right, next up, Philly. I don't know where, Philly's a tough one. Their road trip wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. I don't know that it's necessarily done with this game either. I just know they've played the California part of it. So coming out of tonight's game, I don't think Philadelphia looks like they're going to end up in the playoffs, but LA, maybe. LA is a dark horse right now. So it's Jones versus Quick. A goaltending matchup here. Arvidsson scores at 12 seconds. Yeah, misses the net and then comes around on a wraparound and puts it in at 12 seconds. Danault and Moore with the assists. This line looked fantastic tonight. This line looked like Bergeron level, McKinnon level. Like, it looked fantastic. And yet, it's Arvidsson, Danault, and Moore. So, yeah, they had quite the game. Kempe then has a rush chance that saved. The Flyers get a power play. We have a shorthanded chance for Moore that's saved. They kill off that power play. The Kings get a power play of their own. That was killed off as well. Penalty shot then for Atkinson of the Flyers, and that's saved by Jonathan Quick. So no harm, no foul. Giroux's denied, and then on a rebound, Farabee puts it in. So Farabee scores at 13 minutes to tie the game from Atkinson and Giroux. 1-1, the Kings try to answer, and they do at 14:27. So it's tied for a minute and 27 seconds, and then it's not. Moore scores from Danault and Arvidsson at 14:27. So Arvidsson, Danault, Moore, Danault, Arvidsson. This is not the last time we're going to talk about those three together. Kings then looked for another. The Flyers get a power play. That's unsuccessful. With 1:14 left, the Kings get a power play. They end up with a minute and 1 second of 5-on-3 hockey as well. So that rolls over into the second period at 47 seconds. Kempe scores from Kopitar and Doughty at 47 seconds. So what happens here is, technically, the first penalty was over, but the player had just come out of the box, barely. They had to double check the clock to make sure that first penalty was done. So it was a 5-on-2.5 as well, because there's a broken stick for one of the Flyers, which allowed just passing in front of the net, no problem. So 5-on-2.5, you will score. But it ends up being a 5-on-4 goal, so we go back to 5-on-5. Arvidsson, dangerous on every shift. Victor Arvidsson, this is his best game as a King. This is the Victor Arvidsson that I loved during the 2017 playoff run for the Nashville Predators. This is the Arvidsson that I've always been a huge vocal supporter of. And I was so excited to see, what he would do in LA this year, needing a change of scenery. If tonight's game is any indication, he's about to really heat things up. So, good forecheck then by Turcotte, who I think when the Kings start getting guys back, Turcotte's probably going to end up back in the minors because he does need more seasoning, right? Quick denies Brown. The Kings rush after that. And the Kings press 8 minutes into the period as well. Then there's a post for Lizotte. The Flyers get it the other way. They get some pressure as well. Sanheim has a rush that's defended. And then Brendan Lemieux with what's already his 7th goal. So he's on pace for about 20. He scores from Kaliev and Doughty at 13:27. So that restores, makes the bigger lead. It's 4-1 at that point. Flyers get a power play. That was a no. And then after that, Danault with a near miss at the net from making it 5-1. So we go to the third period. Early power play for the Flyers. We then get 49 seconds of 4-on-4. The Kings were unhappy. We end up with a 5-on-3 in favor of the Flyers. And 5-on-3, they pull the goalie to go 6-on-3, and they score. It's Hayes from Giroux and Atkinson at 2:42. Then the Kings killed off the 5-on-4 that followed that. Woolman has a net drive that saved. The Flyers would press, but at 11:17, Danault adds a net insurance goal from Moore and Arvidsson. Yes, so Arvidsson with a goal, Moore with a goal, Danault with a goal. And Danault's just delighted reaction and the embrace of Moore after the goal, it just warms the cockles of your heart. It really does. Like, it's just, Danault seems to be having so much fun right now with the Kings. So, yeah, that was a fun one. And that was 3 points for each player on that line. They combined for all 3 of those goals. The Flyers press with 7 minutes left. Eventually, the Flyers get a goal, but it's kind of late when they get it. 3:59 left. At 16:01, it's Provorov from Farabee and Atkinson. So with 3:32 left, the Flyers pull the goaltender. That allows for the empty netter by Arvidsson from Moore at 18:16. Sadly, Danault doesn't get an assist on this as well. That's the only thing missing. So Arvidsson with 2 goals and 2 assists. Moore with a goal and 3 assists. Danault with a goal and 2 assists. Pretty good night for that line, right? 11 points for that line. Again, they're Bergeron line numbers. So your final score's 6-3. The other storyline out of this is that Todd McClellan, that's 500 wins for him. They go to 16-12-5. Philadelphia, 13-13-6. Rough time through California for them, but again, they had points in, I think it's 7 straight games coming into tonight. The shots, 17-12 LA in the first, 12-8 Philly in the second, 13-9 Philly in the third. The final shots were actually 37-34 for Philadelphia. Power plays, 1 for 5 for Philly, 1 for 3 for LA. Hits, 18-15 for Philly. Jones saves 28 out of 33. I don't know that he fell below 900. It's that 900 check that I would do on him all the time when he was with the Sharks. I haven't done that lately. Might be time to start. But Jonathan Quick with 33 saves on 36 shots continues to have a very good season. He had 1 rough game there, but outside of that, he's been fantastic. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happen upon this video. And again, when there's fewer games, the notes end up being a little more in-depth, and so does my review of the games. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.